All right. Thank you, Quina, for your help. Today's topic is partner visa. Hello, everyone. My name is Mai Nguyen, and I'm a registered migration agent at Aussizz Group. So I'm very happy to present to you the topic partner visa. For everybody who is online at the moment, thank you for coming in, and let's start. So just to introduce to you what we provide at Aussizz Group. The services that we provide would be to help you with your PTE, your IELTS, even NAATI CCL language test, so to help you to prepare yourself to sit the test. And also we provide access to professional year, PY, PT, and also 𝐦𝐴𝐵 to help you to find out more about the visa options out there for you. Okay. So the first question, who can apply for a partner visa? So the applicant must be either engaged or married or in a de facto relationship with an Australian citizen or a permanent resident or a holder of an eligible New Zealand citizenship. My first part of this session would be to mainly talk about the partner visa application while you're onshore in Australia. So for those out there right now listening to my seminar who are currently in Australia, either you're on a student visa or a graduate visa or a work visa, but along the way, if you managed to meet up with a friend and you became girlfriend, boyfriend, and moving towards partners or even getting married, then this part here would be for you. Okay, so I understand not many people will have the chance of a lifetime to meet up with an Australian citizen or a permanent resident or a New Zealander citizen holder. But if you do, then if your partner is willing to sponsor you for the partner visa, you will get your PR. Okay, and after that, after 1 year receiving your PR, you can apply for your Australian citizenship. That's how it works. Okay, so let's start. So there are the partner visa onshore application consists of the subclass 820. This is a provisional visa that will allow you, if you get granted this visa, will then allow you to be perfectly fine to keep on staying in Australia, because once that you're granted this particular subclass 820 partner visa, the previous visa that you held would disappear. So if you were holding a student visa and you're studying for another couple of years on a bachelor's degree or something, once you're granted this particular partner visa subclass 820, you no longer need to study unless you want to continue, right? But some people, they say, well, they'd rather wait to get the PR granted, then they become like a local, then you don't have to worry about paying the international tuition fees, okay? And then once you're granted the subclass 820, okay, you keep on staying in Australia, you keep living with your partner, and just continue living and enjoying your life together, all right? But just keep in mind of the fact that if I can backtrack a bit, the day that you applied for your partner visa subclass 820, keep that in mind. So for example, if today is the 30th of June 2023, we lodged the partner visa application subclass 820, then you need to keep in mind from this date, you need to wait at least 2 years later to the day of the lodgement date for you to be able to then be eligible to apply for the last stage, the last visa application, which would be the partner visa subclass 801. Okay, so what could happen is this. So don't try not to be confused, but let's say, if I can give you an idea, if we move forward to, okay, I'll give you an idea before we move into the next screen. Literally, while you're holding, let's say, any visa, even a visitor visa, student visa, graduate visa, skilled visa, or anything like that, work visa, COVID visa even, right? When you lodge a partner visa application, you would want to have this application be processed as soon as possible, right? So if they process and there's not much hurdles, immigration doesn't come back to ask you any more questions or any more information or documents, you'd be glad if they grant you moving forward into the future as soon as possible. Now, you came to us before COVID, right? Around before 2020. We would advise you normally from normal practice that expect to get your partner visa subclass 820 about a year or a year and a half later, approved and granted to you. And then you have to wait about 6 months later to then move on to apply for your partner visa subclass 801. But then we noticed something very interesting and very valuable for you to understand, that during COVID, and even now, still now is happening after COVID, and we're moving out of the COVID era, partner visa applications are being processed faster than most other visa applications. Okay, so one of my clients got granted the partner visa provisional onshore subclass 820 about 1.5 months after we've lodged the actual application online. And then thereafter, during COVID, during the peak of the pandemic, we saw a lot of the partner visa subclass 820 being granted to our clients around the 3 to 4 months mark, 6 months, and now my latest client got the partner visa subclass 820 granted to her within the 7th month mark. So obviously, we're not needing to wait 1 year later, 1.5 years later to have this subclass 820 granted. So remember, once this has been granted to you, you're in. The previous visa that you still hold would disappear, all right? So you don't have any more conditions upon that previous visa. Also, did you know that once you apply for your partner visa subclass 820, you have the right to apply for your Medicare? Okay, you get your Medicare card just by showing proof that you've already applied. That's one of the benefits of applying for a partner visa. Okay, all right, let's move forward. Okay, you need to be aware of the main gist of why you want to apply for a partner visa. Well, first of all, of course, you want to live with your loved one that you've chosen, and also you want to pursue PR, okay? And then the requirement for them, for the immigration department, the case office, when they assess your application, whether to grant you the partner visa, provisional, or even later on your PR, what do you need to satisfy to them for them to be, let's say, acknowledge and recognize and accept that you are in a committed relationship with your sponsor, okay? So all up, you need to prove that you are in a genuine, committed and ongoing relationship with your sponsor partner who's going to sponsor you for the partner visa. That's the main thing. If you can prove this through, documents, and personal statements and statutory declarations from witnesses, you will be able to easily be granted first the provisional partner visa 820 subclass, and also later on for your PR. That's as easy as that. It's not rocket science, okay? It's not difficult. So when you hear stories, obviously, a lot of people tell me stories they hear their friends or other people going through a very hard time getting the PR granted through the partner visa application. And from my own experience, it's always been smooth sailing. Okay, so I don't know why there's such difficulties. A lot of people have mentioned that they've been waiting for over 2 years, 3 years even, to even have any chance to get the PR yet. They're still waiting. I say that there must be something wrong there, and you need to look into that. Okay. Now, you need to prove your relationship with each other. You being the applicant, and also with your sponsor, the partner who's sponsoring you for the partner visa. There's a few options. So option one, you prove that you have to be in a de facto relationship. Okay. So usually to prove that you're in a de facto relationship, you have to usually be together, be committed together for at least 12 months. And usually that would entail that you should live together. Okay. So the proof would be through evidentiary documents to prove that. So example, residential tenancy agreement if you open a joint bank account, it will show your name, your joint names with the residential address. So obviously, logically, people, the case officer would say, well, you actually do live where you are together. That's why you have a joint bank account together. And the residential tenancy agreement would prove that as well. And there's also utility bills. Okay. Now, option 2, registered relationship with a relevant state authority. Now, depending on where you live currently in Australia, if you live in WA, we do not have a registry for you to apply to be recognised that you've been living together, okay, so that you can register your relationship. But I believe in other states like in New South Wales, Victoria, there's a bigger population. There is registry there for you to apply online and prove that you've been living together through, you know, evidentiary documents. But a lot of times you don't need to fully satisfy at least 12 months of living together. It could be less than that, and still the registry would acknowledge and accept that you together as in a, you know, as in a de facto relationship or a relationship. Okay. And lastly, option 3 would be to get married. So you need to have a legal or registered marriage certificate in your possession before you can think to apply and lodge, you know, the partner visa application subclass 820. Now, be aware that when you need to apply to get married, right? You can't just decide today, okay, I'm going to, let's go and get married, and you get a celebrant to marry you. You need to go through the normal processes. You need to apply to get married through the marriage registry, and that will set you back 30 days. The registry will make you wait 30 days before then. After that, you're legally able to hire a celebrant or a holy person to marry you. Okay, and after they, you know, do that small ceremony, they'll give you a normal kind of coloured paper that's called a marriage certificate. Now, immediately at that moment, it's not registered yet, so you need to take that marriage certificate and register to the births desk marriage registry and wait a few days. Once they come back fully registered, okay, it will show like the registered marriage certificate. That would be the official document to be able to use to then apply for your partner visa application. Okay. Now, okay, I mentioned before, and I'll mention again, we need to prove that you are in a genuine and committed and continuing ongoing relationship with the partner and the sponsor for at least 2 and a bit years. Okay, so it's not too long, but you need to commit yourself to being together for a couple of years to prove to immigration that you guys are both genuine, and that the sponsor is still going to continue to sponsor you to the end to get you your PR. All right. So how to prove the genuineness and the continuation of your relationship? Well, there's a few factors that you need to be aware of. These are the major factors that you need to find documents to prove, okay, to show to immigration. Now, logically, you know that to them, you're just a number, right? But obviously, for them to see more than past this number of the application, they want to see evidentiary documents from you. That's the only way for you to prove the genuineness and the continuation of your relationship. There's no other way. You don't provide them with video recordings or anything like that. It's mainly paper documents, right? Evidentiary documents. So convert it to PDF and then upload online onto the 𝐬𝐸 account, your 𝐬𝐸 account. So when we're talking about social awareness of the relationship, we're talking about, let's say, in the public eye, do they see you as a couple? So how to convert that to evidentiary documents? Well, social media, Facebook, Instagram, like pictures when you post online, social media. So you need to provide that through, providing like PDF document format and then uploading that. Okay. And also, like, let's say the community needs to see you as a couple, being a couple together, right? So you can't just upload photos of just yourself. You should be together at all times with yourself as a couple, and then with yourselves as a couple with friends and family. So photos is one aspect to prove that, in the public eye that you're a couple. And then think about certain ways to prove that the community sees you as a couple by, let's say, if there's a wedding in the family members have a wedding, or your friends have a wedding, engagement party, birthday, and even like a social event where they invite you as a couple. So nowadays, a lot of people invite through email, like, you know, e-invite. Or else some people do the old way, where they actually send you a paper invitation card or something like that. Then you do a screenshot of that. And that's one example of evidentiary document to provide, to show to immigration that, you know, in the eyes of the public, in the eyes of society, community, they see you as a couple. That's why they invited both of you to attend their event. So then we move on to financial commitment. Easy as, you should open a joint bank account statement together as soon as possible, and then you should, you know, use that bank account statement, pull the monies together. You don't have to pull the whole money. You can have your own personal account, but as to show proof of the financial commitment, you should open a joint bank account. And so you should, you know, if you purchase items for groceries or furniture or bills that you'd pay, then it should come from that joint bank account, to show that you are living together and that you are living normally and you're sharing the financial commitments to each other. Okay. Next is living arrangements. Okay. So, you know, one way to express or to explain your living arrangements to the case officer from immigration is to write a personal statement. And in there, you would also mention the all 4 different kind of categories that's on the screen right now in that personal statement. And one of that would be living arrangements. So you can mention something like at home, while you're living together, you share the household duties with each other. So one cooks, one cleans, one does the laundry, or the other person do the, you know, the manual hard labor, like of you know, changing light globes or fixing you know, equipments around the house, or do the gardening. Okay, so it's like showing to the case officer that you're actually living well together and sharing the commitments of, you know, of the duties around the house and all that. And then the mutual commitments would also be something like their plans for the future, or what have you done in the past together. Have you bought a property together, or asset, a piece of land, or a car, motor vehicle? Show that. And also, like, if you're planning to have a baby, then mention that in your personal statement, okay? And even apart from the personal statements, other evidentiary documents could be that you've just got pregnant. So you can get a letter from the GP to confirm that. And then in the personal statement, you mention about how you want to grow your family in the future. And also maybe you want to go back home to visit your family back home. So you want to take your sponsor, spouse or a partner to visit and introduce the family to them. All these kind of ideas and plans and decisions that you've made as a couple should be put down in personal statements, shown in documents, okay? And I'll give you a heads up as well. An extra piece of evidentiary document to prove your commitment to each other that would add weight to your partner visa application would be like something like a superannuation. So if you're both working, you do, you know, have your own super policy, then it doesn't hurt if you don't mind, both of you, or one of you, doesn't matter, but it should be at least one or two, you know, or, you know, both of you. To go back to your superannuation company and then apply to ask them to put your partner as a beneficiary upon your super. Now, a lot of people don't mind doing that, but some people do mind. Well, that's okay. You don't have to use this particular evidentiary document if you don't want to show it. But that would add, if you do, then it will show a more committed kind of way for your relationship, because you're happy to put your spouse as a beneficiary upon your super. So if something happens to you, then your spouse will be able to access and obtain the funds from your super. Okay. All right. Let's move forward. So the question is, what happens after the grant of a provisional visa? So the day that immigration grants you the partner visa subclass A20, right, you can easily feel free to travel in and out of Australia without needing to apply for a bridging visa B. Now, then I have to backtrack a bit. Let's say you're holding a student visa or a graduate visa, and then it's going to expire, let's say, 2 months' time, 3 months' time, whenever. So when we lodge a partner visa, let's say today, then nothing happens. You still hold your student visa or your graduate visa until in September, the end of September, let's say. So 30th of September, your student visa or your graduate visa will expire. The next day, the 1st of October, you'll be holding a bridging visa A because you've already applied for a visa before the current visa that you hold has expired. So at that time, on the 1st of October, you'll be on a bridging visa A waiting to be granted the partner visa application subclass 820 that you applied, okay? While holding a bridging visa A and moving forward, it means that you are able to indefinitely stay in Australia legally, lawfully, and you're able to work or study whatever you want to do because you are saying to, to the immigration department that I'm waiting to be granted the visa that I applied for. And hopefully, and usually, for my track record, it's always been 100% guaranteed that you'll get your grant of the 820 partner visa. Okay, I can't vouch for anybody else. But we provide you with a bulletproof checklist of all the required documents. If you give us all the documents we require to help you to apply for this visa, there should be no panic attacks, no fear of not getting the partner visa subclass 820 granted in the near future. So if by 3 months later, you still have not received the partner visa subclass 820, it could be, another few more months before you do. While you're holding a bridging visa A, and one day you decide you want to go overseas to travel, or you want to go home to visit your family, no problems. You are not a prisoner here, okay? You can leave any time. But of course, you're leaving Australia, you need to hold something to come back into Australia. While you're holding bridging visa A, you must, before you travel out of Australia, apply for a bridging visa B. And we're happy to apply that for free for you. But it will cost you around, $150 or $165, I think. Okay, but immigration will charge that. But it's just a travel facility to enable you to come back into the country smoothly. All right, so keep that in mind. While holding a bridging visa A, if you want to leave Australia and come back, then you must apply for a bridging visa B. It should only take a couple of days for them to grant you the bridging visa B. And then you're safe to go, even book a ticket to go home or on holiday, okay? So that's that. But once they grant you the partner visa provisional subclass 820, then there's no need for you to ever think to apply for a bridging visa B, because now you're holding a substantive meaty visa, like any visa. Then you're allowed to come, fly in and out of Australia anytime you like. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now here, they said there's you need to attend up to 510 hours of free English language classes. And that's provided by the Adult Migrant English Program. Now, this right now, you don't have to worry about it until any time in the near future. If and when there'll be another announcement made by the Department of Immigration that they've made changes to the partner visa application, then you have to worry about doing this kind of English test if you don't hold at least, functional English, like 4.5 in IELTS right now. If you're onshore in Australia on a student visa or a graduate visa, for sure you would have cleared your you have more than enough proficiency in English to qualify for the partner visa. So, at least you need to show at least 4.5. So for now, I don't think that you need to worry about this until they announce publicly moving forward in the near future, any time that they're going to impose this. But right now, you don't have to worry about this instant. Okay, we move forward. Oh, okay. I'm moving. What have I done? Sorry, my bad. All right. Then the permanent stage, applying for the partner visa subclass 801. This is where, you know, it's crucial, but it should also be just another waiting kind of time before you get your PR. It should not be something that you're going to be afraid about, okay? The main thing was to be cleared at the very beginning when you end up obtaining the grant of the partner visa provisional subclass 820. That was with a big, you know, a lot of work to get there, to be granted that. Because once that's been granted, you have fully kind of proven yourself in the eyes of immigration, in the eyes of the case officer, that they trust in you, they believe that you are in a genuine and committed and ongoing relationship with your spouse, partner who's sponsoring you for the partner visa, okay? So at this stage, it's just a little bit left to go, all right? So remember what I said before, and I'm going to reiterate again at the beginning, when I said that to be able to apply for this stage, to be able to lodge the permanent stage application for the partner visa subclass 801, right? You need to have already lodged your partner visa subclass 822 years ago until today. Then and only then, as of today, you can lodge this partner visa, the last application, partner visa subclass 801 online. At this stage, you do not need, there's no fees to apply to pay to immigration. I forgot to mention at the beginning, when you lodge the partner visa application subclass 820, even as of today, you have to pay to immigration. The immigration fees, a once-off fee of $8,085, okay, plus credit card surcharge of 1.4%. Okay, so keep that in mind, right? Now, once you pay that at the very beginning, there's no more immigration fees to pay. So even now, after 2 years, after you've lodged the first application online, when you lodge this partner visa subclass 801, there's no fees at all that they'll ask you to pay, okay? Okay, so what to do when you lodge this? Obviously, the sponsor needs to also, moving forward from recent changes, they need to sign a statutory declaration, a Commonwealth statutory declaration, to confirm that they're still wanting to sponsor you for this partner visa to get you your PR. So that's something that you have to keep in mind. So hopefully, during this whole time of being together, I'm sure there'll be ups and downs. There'll be many fights here and there, but you know, I'm sure you'll be able to resolve your little problems here and there. So long as your partner who's sponsoring you for the partner visa is willing to still continue to sponsor you to the end, and they're willing to, at this stage, complete the Commonwealth statutory declaration partner visa as a sponsor, and in that form, they will talk about the living arrangements, the commitments, social commitments, household commitments, all that again in that stat deck, and they need to get their signature witnessed by, you know, the authorised witness of the signature. Then they'll need to show that online by uploading that document online to immigration to see. And there'll be other documents that you need to show the continuing ongoing commitment to each other, like still personal statements, witness statements that they still see you as being together, joint bank account statement, proof that you're still living together at that same address, and all that. Similar to the part where you applied for the subclass 820, okay? It'll be similar documents again. So going through the points, you have to be married or still be in a de facto relationship with your partner. So you can apply for the subclass 801 at least 2 years from the date of lodgement. That's what I said. You have to still prove that you are still in a genuine and continuing relationship with your partner. Okay, so with that, the same documents that you provided at 2 years ago, now it will be revised or updated. So new dates, not the old ones. Okay, and of course, you know, proof, evidentiary documents again to show that you are committed to living together, committed to a shared life together, and that you're not in any other relationship with anybody else but your current sponsor partner. Okay, now along the way, and up until the date when you apply for this permanent stage, the partner visa subclass 801, you need to make sure that you update immigration about any changes to your circumstance. So if you've moved house or you have a new passport, make sure that you update everything before you lodge this last application online, the subclass 801. Okay, and if you've given birth to a baby along the way, then make sure that you've uploaded the birth certificate and the passport. Okay, now so they mention about and if you change your mobile phone number or email address, whatever. Okay, update that, and then the last bit I want to mention when it talks about, or they mention domestic violence. Now, I hope that this never happens to any of you out there, but just keep in mind, because things could happen along the way that's out of your control, right? When the applicant is involved in domestic violence, okay, the immigration department don't need to know whose fault it is for whatever reason, why. But if you are involved in a domestic violence situation, you can still pursue, right, for your PR, even if the sponsor applies or advises immigration that they no longer want to sponsor you for the partner visa. If you can prove that you were in a domestic violence situation and it dragged for how long, and there was abuse that occurred, if you can show police report, psychologist reports, GP statements and reports, medical reports to show that due to domestic violence you've incurred injuries and all that, then for sure immigration has a way to even grant you the PR. All right, it's a different pathway that they will make you provide documentations of proof of these kind of things, but you will need to know that even if the sponsor refuses to continue to sponsor you for the PR, if you can show proof of domestic violence, there's a good chance you still get your PR. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, there were some announcements back a couple of years ago about future reforms to the partner visa. Okay, but even now, we were waiting every few months to see, was there any changes happening to the partner visa? But no. So luckily, we don't have to worry about anything moving forward from now until the near future. So keep in mind, if you have any doubt, always follow us on 𝐬𝐧𝐼 Facebook page. Any new changes to the legislation with different visas or even partner visa, we will update on our Facebook page so you will know, okay? But keep this in mind that sooner or later, immigration will have to make changes and reform the partner visa moving forward in the near future. So this could be something like this. There'll be a requirement of English language for permanent resident sponsors and partner visa applicants. So here, if your sponsor is Australian citizen, there's no need to worry about thinking about getting them to show proof of English language proficiency, okay? But if they're not Australian citizen, then so if they're even just having a PR, right, then they may be required to show their English proficiency. And as well as yourself, who's an applicant for the partner visa, you'll also need to show proficiency in English. And I believe it's 4.5 in IELTS. So later on, they are requiring you to show your English language proficiency. You only need to show IELTS of at least a 4.5. And so people who are onshore and studying here in Australia, it will be easy for you for sure, okay? New changes could happen where the Australian sponsor, to become an approved sponsor, it says Australian sponsor to become approved sponsor before an applicant can proceed to lodge a partner visa. What this means is this: if in the future there is a new reform, it could require that before we even lodge a partner visa application, subclass 820, we need to apply on behalf of the Australian sponsor first. We lodge an application online and show to immigration that the sponsor, who's an Australian citizen or a permanent resident, is kind of like qualified to be approved to sponsor you for the partner visa. And that could be because they're trying to help the applicant moving forward when they get their PR, it seems to me that domestic violence is a big issue in our community and society. And so as a way to protect applicants, spouses who are, being sponsored for the partner visa, they want to make sure that the actual sponsor has a good character background. And so they want to vet out the Australian sponsor at the very beginning, right? So they want to see that the Australian sponsor would have applied for a federal Australian police check, and upload that when we lodge an application for the Australian sponsor to show to immigration before they can make approval of this. Once this has been approved, then and only then can we lodge the actual partner visa provisional 820 subclass application for you. So right now, don't worry, there's no announcement being made that this is required at the moment, and we don't know when they're going to make this requirement. Okay, it could be another year or so. So far, as soon as possible, if you're able to, you should lodge the partner visa application as soon as possible so that you won't come across these kind of future reforms. Okay. Okay, so the bottom is just explaining exactly what I just mentioned to you before. Let's move forward. Okay, so we talked about partner visa onshore application. For those of you who are following us right now, if you are not onshore in Australia yet, you are offshore anywhere in the world, from different countries in the world like India, Vietnam, China, anywhere right now, okay, then this would be something for you to look into. So let's talk about the different versions of how to pursue to lodge your partner visa. If I can talk about the first part, prospective marriage visa subclass 300. This is like a fiancé visa that people call in the past and still sticks now, still. Subclass 300. This means that you're still offshore. If you are, so your partner who is Australian citizen or permanent resident can help you to lodge this particular visa while you're still back home in your country. Okay, so they may have come back home to visit you, and then you guys got engaged, and they come back and then help to lodge you for this prospective marriage visa subclass 300. You have to wait less than a year. It depends on how long this visa processing application would take, but you have to wait. Once they grant you this visa, then you're able to come over onshore to Australia, and then you have to get married within 9 to 15 months of this particular visa they grant you for, okay? Before this visa expires, you need to get married, okay? And then you can lodge the subclass 820 partner visa, okay? And then after that, wait, and then apply for your permanent stage, the subclass 801. For people who are, okay, so let's talk about the next part, visitor visa. Let's say right now you're still offshore and you want to bypass waiting for like a year or so for immigration to grant your visa to fly into Australia, right, to lodge your partner visa. Then there's one way that you could bypass this potentially is to try to apply and successfully get granted the visitor visa. So long as that visitor visa that's granted to you has no condition that will not allow you to has like a no further stay condition, because if you have that condition, you're not allowed to lodge any visa application while you're onshore in Australia. Okay, so if in doubt, come and see us or email to us and we can provide you with further information. Okay, but so if there's no further stay condition on that, then you're obstructed from applying for any visa or like a partner visa application while you're here in Australia. You just go home, okay? But if you're lucky, and normally not every day that we see a visitor visa granted to you would have that condition, 8503, okay? But if you're unlucky, then that's it. You have to try another way, okay? Like go back and then come back on another visa, and hopefully this time they will not have that no further stay condition, okay? If there's no further stay condition in being imposed upon your visitor visa, then you have every right you'll be eligible to apply for your partner visa, subclass 820. Lodge it before your visitor visa expires, anytime. Okay, and then while you lodge it, after you lodge it, let's say a few days later, a week later, a month later, your visitor visa will expire. Then you'll be on a bridging visa A, but you'll be able to live to stay here lawfully with your partner, waiting indefinitely until they grant you the partner visa subclass 820, and later on you can apply for the partner visa subclass 801. That's how it works. Okay. And then the other part of it is a partner provisional visa offshore subclass 309. It could be that, for example, an arranged marriage, or even if your partner comes back to your home country, gets married to you, have a marriage certificate, so now you're married. He comes back to Australia, and he helps because you wouldn't know what to do normally, but he'll help to lodge on your behalf the partner visa provisional offshore subclass 309. So you have to wait for that particular visa to be granted to you. Then you can fly over and then lodge the subclass 100 later on to get your PR. So it's pretty much straightforward. If in doubt, if you need a consultation, please do reach out to me, to any of our migration agents. We can help to consult to give you more details about that. So again, when we're talking about in detail the prospective marriage visa subclass 300, also known as fiancé visa, yeah. So once the subclass 300 visa is granted, you can fly over to Australia, and within 9 months to up to 15 months, you need to get married. Once you get married, you have a marriage certificate, then you can lodge the application online for the partner visa 820 subclass. Okay, and then you just wait and go through the process. So again, reiterating the partner visa provisional offshore application subclass 309. So you must be offshore, and you wait. Once you lodge this particular subclass 309, you wait. Once it's granted to you, you can fly into Australia and stay and live with your spouse. And after 2 years from the lodgement of the subclass 309, you can apply for the 100 visa subclass partner visa, and you'll get your PR that way. Okay. Now, the same thing that applies for either offshore or onshore partner visa application. You still need to prove the genuineness and the continuation of the relationship. Okay, so the same thing applies. The main categories would be social awareness of the relationship, financial commitment, evidence of contact and communication, mutual commitments. So social awareness, if you're on Facebook or any social media, then posts, you can do screenshots of that and upload online to your IMI account. Also, just like, again, talking about if the community sees you as a couple. So if you're like, your sponsor is here in Australia and you're there, but if he managed to come over to visit you, and then you get together, you have photos with family and friends and relatives, you can upload that to show that in the eyes of the community, you are seen as a couple already, you see. Financial commitment, there's nothing to stop you from opening a joint bank account, either back home in your home country or over here, all right? And also evidence like if your partner sends money to you from Australia. So they could show proof of that, receipt of a money transfer, and that would show that he is committed financially to support you while you're offshore in your home country. Evidence of contact and communication, well, you probably would have WhatsApp or, text messages, and preferably it should be in English. It could be difficult if it's in your own home language and you don't want to go the extra mile if you don't want to translate everything. It could be a lot of money involved. Then if it's in English, then you could show that and provide that online. Text messages and proof of screenshots of FaceTiming or something like that. Okay. Mutual commitments. You can provide personal statements, planning for the future, planning of where to travel together, and planning to purchase property together, all those kind of things. So if in doubt, always reach out to us. We can provide more examples for you. Of course, apart from all that, you need to also meet the health and character requirements. So when you apply for a partner visa, you'll have to do your medical checkup, examinations, and also you need to apply for your own national police check from your home country, and and for the sponsor, they have to apply for the Australian Federal Police check here. Okay, so offshore, the same as onshore. So thank you very much if you've made it this far with me. Thank you for your participation and attendance. If there's any questions you'd like to ask me, I'm happy to respond. All right, I'm just looking through at certain questions that you have already. Okay, so the first question is, does subclass 309 require the sponsor to be approved? So don't get confused. When I mentioned to you during the session about needing the immigration to approve of sponsorship, that's not going to happen anytime. It hasn't happened in the past, up until today. There's no new announcement, so don't worry about pursuing that. It must get the sponsor to be approved first before you're able to apply for any partner visa, 309 or 820. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. The next question is, if I hold a student visa and marry in a different country, can my spouse apply for a partner visa to join me in Australia? If not, how do I legally bring the spouse to Australia to join me? Okay, I think in this question, I think you might be confused. If you hold a student visa, it means that you're not an Australian citizen or permanent resident, so you're talking about as an applicant for a partner visa. But today, we're talking about a partner visa. You may be thinking that you're not pursuing partner visa for permanent residency, but your personal situations, you want to marry somebody from a different country who's not necessarily an Australian citizen or permanent resident, right? Then for sure, you can get married to them and apply, help them to lodge a student visa dependent entrant, subsequent entrant dependent, for them to come over to be your dependent upon your student visa. Okay, that's a separate thing. And I don't think that's got to do with the partner visa session today. Okay. Next question. How long does it take for a partner visa to be processed? So sometimes, when you check online from the Immigration Department website, it can be confusing and not necessarily the right processing time, because if I tell you that it could be so random that, like I said, they could say like it could be delayed over 12 months to now it could be nearly 2 years. But if my experience for the last couple of years until today, it's always been the partner visa subclass 820 granted to my client has always been less than 12 months. The maximum that I've noticed would be the 7th month mark. So moving forward, some other people from other agencies, or if you did it yourself, you may experience some delays. But from my experience, from myself and my other colleagues as well, we could still confirm that should be less than 1 year nowadays, even so, just because that's what's happening, Either we're doing the right thing, that we're getting for our clients a quicker kind of grant of the partner visa subclass 820, just because we don't need to provide too much more information or documents, because we covered everything at the very beginning when we apply and we upload all the necessary documents that we believe that would cover just enough for the case officer to not necessarily need any more, to delay any more, coming back and asking us for more documents now and again and all that. We don't, So that's my answer to you. Again, the next question is, how long is the whole process for onshore applicants? Well, the same, as I said, it could vary, I have to say. I mean, we can never give you a full guarantee of exactly when, right? But from what I can say, because of COVID, in some ways, for visa applications for Australia, it's a blessing in disguise that it just turned things upside down, 360 degrees. Where before, especially for partner visa, before we had to wait so long to even get the first stage, the 820 subclass granted to our clients, to the applicant. So that's when, if you came to me for advice and assistance with the partner visa lodgement before COVID, before 2020, right, before February 2020, before the peak of the pandemic, I would usually quote you, expect to wait about a year and a bit, a year and 6 months before you get the partner visa subclass 820 granted to you. But then when COVID hit, from then on until now, so many people got their partner visa subclass 820 granted earlier than 1 year. Okay, and in my experience, it was like one time, 1.5 months, my client got granted 820. She was on a student visa and for another 2 years to go to study a bachelor's degree with no direct PR pathway for her because she studied something that's not going to help her. But she married somebody during the peak of the pandemic, and with that, she got her grant of the partner visa within 1.5 months. She was so happy because then she could save $60,000 of her tuition fees at university to invest into her marriage and a relationship with a partner. So that was a great. But then from then on until now, all my clients are getting their partner visa subclass 820 granted very early, like 2 or 3 months, 4, 5, 6, 7 months now. So hopefully, you moving forward, it will be similar to you. Okay. The next question, what is the likelihood if you're not living together but have all other evidence over 3 years? Okay. So I suppose when I mentioned that you should show that you're living together through the residential tenancy agreement, that would be a strong kind of document, evidentiary document to prove, to easily prove that, you're committed and you're living together and genuine. Some people may not have that luxury somehow to prove, to have like a residential tenancy agreement to show somehow because they're either sharing a room. Nowadays with inflation and everything, there's a lot of difficulties for people to have to be a direct tenant of a tenancy. So you may even share just one room, and a lot of times your friend is the main tenant of that agreement with the landlord. So there's very little there's not much of a document that your friend can give you to show proof that you and your spouse or your partner's living together. So the question is good, that, what's the likelihood if you're not living together but have all other evidence over 3 years? Well, I don't know what all other evidence is, but going back to the golden rule, if you can prove that you're in a committed, genuine and ongoing relationship with your sponsor partner together, then you still meet the criteria for partner visa for PR later on, right? So photos, statutory declaration from family and friends to show that, yes, we know them as a couple, they've been together for all this time and they're genuine committed. Those kind of examples could help to show to immigration. But I really need to speak to you directly to get to the point of what other documents that you can show. If you cannot show enough, then you might be in trouble. So be careful, keep that in mind. All right. Well, I think our time is running out. So thank you again for your participation. And if you need my help or any of our registered migration agents at Aussizz Group, please reach out to us. We're here to help you to advise of any visa applications that you want to know. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for attending our conclave. And if you have any questions related to the partner visa, you can feel free to email us. Thank you.